Hey guys, welcome back to another season of Master Duel Rankings. I believe this is season 21 now. And yeah, I just want to talk about some updates to the deck and what I expect this um, season, I guess. And yeah, let's just talk about it a little bit. Alright, so with the new season, we also got a new ban list. And as you guys know, tier elements got hit pretty hard, sprites got touched a little bit, and that's basically it, right? So those are kind of like the main um, meta defining changes. They also got rid of like Block Dragon and Ramen Media, however you pronounce it, is Bongo Bongo. So I mean, those were just for mostly cheesy FTK decks, but you don't really face those in like high ranks. You just kind of face them on the lower ranks. But they got rid of all that, so no more FTKs, no more weird cheesy stuff. So now into season 21, after the ban list, we do have a couple decks that are potentially top contenders. We have Castiras and we have um, Dragon Links. So those would probably be the two best decks, or the two most popular decks you're going to be facing this particular season. I still expect to see tier elements here and there. Branded, you'll still see. They only have one branded fusion, so I think with that happening to their deck, it's gonna be a lot less popular. My friends that play branded, they were already frustrated in the TCG with branded fusion at 3, just simply because if branded fusion gets stopped, gets negated or ash or whatever, the deck kind of shuts down. It slows to a crawl. Granted, in the TCG, we also have full power Bystials, where in the Master Duels we don't. So even with, that's probably another reason why the deck probably won't be as popular, because the Bystial cards are limited in Master Duels, and Branded Fusion is now limited. So the deck has a lot more tougher time dealing and just making a consistent board that is gonna be good. So I think that deck is dropped from like a tier 2 to a tier 3, and maybe even to rogue status nowadays. Um, as for decks that sort of got a boost from all those hits, I would say Labrynth. Honestly, Labrynth, Trap Tricks, Black Wings, those decks remain relatively untouched, unchanged by the ban list. Labrynth, we had one card, quote unquote, hit, which was the Pot of Extravagance, and even then, most of the time you only play two. Sometimes you play three, but the problem with that is you activate one, you have potential higher chance of drawing the second one, which you don't really want to happen. Um, so that's one reason there, right? Another reason is, well, I guess it's not another reason, but more like if you wanted to play another Pot of Extravagance or want more consistency for your deck, you could also toss in the one um, Pot of Prosperity there. But I don't think it's really necessary for the deck. So, which reminds me, I think I'm going to dismantle one of these, because I do have 3. I might as well dismantle it. All right, there you go. So, yeah, for Labrynth, not much has changed. I did make a small change to my personal deck here. So the change I made here was I added in Call by the Graves for this particular season. Reason why I added in Call by the Graves, and I took out the Siju Shufflers. So two main reasons, right, that I'm taking these out. One, tier elements is no longer going to be super tier. They're going to be moved to like tier 2, tier 3. You'll still see them. People still try to make them work, but because of that, their deck is so much more weaker that I don't think we really have to worry about like getting the Shufflers turn 1, or having like graveyard interaction by turn 1 or turn 0. So I think taking it out is fine nowadays. It still does work pretty well against Dragon Links. Granted, sometimes you don't really want to shuffle certain cards in their graveyard back to their deck, say like Striker Dragon or a Rominus or something like that. It gets a little bit more tricky, but the shufflers are still pretty good. I just think they're not necessary anymore. Second reason is that all the millers are essentially gone. The only Miller left is Kelbeck, and with one Kelbeck, I don't think it's really worth playing the Siju package anymore. Because back then, if they had Kelbeck, they have Agito, they're milling you 10 cards from your deck. High chances they Teomans will get punished for milling you. Nowadays, with one Agito, or sorry, not Agito, Agito is banned. With one Kelbeck, you're not really too pressed to, or like the amount of times that these are going to get milled to the graveyard by your opponent is very, very slim, very small nowadays. So I don't think you really need to play the shufflers anymore. Instead, we're playing Call by the Graves, and what Call by the Grave does a little bit better than the shuffler does is they interact with hand traps, which admittedly our deck is sort of weak to. We are definitely weak to Ash Blossom, right? If the Ash are big welcome, regular welcome, that's where our deck kind of stumbles a little bit. It kind of fumbles. We don't really have access to our recurring mechanics because we can't bounce anything back. We can't get out our monsters. We just neg ourselves 2 cards because usually you would play activate Stovey or Chandelier, discard another card, set a big welcome or welcome Labrynth. You activate it. It gets Ash Blossom, and now you're down the card. So because we're getting rid of these, we're putting back in Call by the Graves, and Call by the Graves is still a graveyard hate card, so it still works really well against Dragon Links. Works well against hand traps, as I mentioned, and works well against like trap tricks even. The mirror match if we're playing against the mirror match. So there's plenty of reasons I think Call by the Graves can be played again, and sometimes you want to combo off, you want to go ham, and they max C you. Call by the Graves is a good answer to the max C there. The only thing bad about Call by the Graves is turn 0 you can't really do much with it. So you open this within your hand and you're going second, you're not gonna have that much interaction, but that's okay, right? So in terms of our interaction that we're still playing, I think the Bistros are still pretty good. Just the 2 of them, you don't really need any more. I don't think you need to play Baldrick anymore. Baldrick was better when Tears was more meta, because Tears is essentially kind of gone. You don't really need to play Baldrick anymore. So I can even remove this from the my bookmark cards. So, but still, the Bistros are still really good against Dragon Links. So Dragon Links is another deck that we just have to sort of prepare for, and they're the Bistros are still really good against other Bistro decks or other Dragon Link decks. So I still think they're worth playing, and also they give you access to Chaos Angel with Ariana. If you have one of these guys out on the board and you have Ariana, you can easily synchro into a Chaos Angel. So that's why I think they're kind of useful in the deck. So I decided to keep them in. So not only we have some graveyard interaction in terms of with Call by the Graves and the Bistro cards, we have access to our extra decks a little bit better, or at least with Chaos Angel there. All right, so that makes primarily the change in my deck, right? So just the 2 Call by the Graves were added in. In terms of the rest of the deck, I think it's fine. Like when I was climbing to rank 1 Masters, Cash Fenrir was okay. Like it didn't really win me any games. It didn't really lose me any games. It was just an extra body. It was just extra 2400 attack, extra search. Bait out the Ash, bait out the Imperm, and a little bit of removal. I remove a lot of Adventure continuous spell cards. I removed some Tier Element Screams, things like that. So that's what the Cashier Fenrir does for the deck. Is it kind of helps out the deck a little bit, but it's also kind of counterintuitive, because if you have a monster on the board, there's not really much you can do with the Fenrir in hand. If that's the case, it's okay. You can go ahead and discard it with the Tovi and the Chandelier. So it's not a huge deal. I think still worth playing 2 copies of it. One of my subscribers did say, oh, maybe you should play a bigger cash package, which you could. You could definitely play Unicorn and you can also play Rebirth if you were so inclined to do so. So I would add in one Rebirth and one Unicorn. Unicorn, what it does is it allows you to interact with your opponent's extra deck, banish the key extra deck monsters. You can banish Kikalos, you can banish Zeus, you can banish Sarah, etc. Right? So just hit the cards they need in their extra deck, and if you draw this first, you special summon Unicorn and you activate its effect, you get a birth. And this is just kind of like free, um, just free cards for you, right? But they can also kind of be bricks. So I'm a little hesitant on doing that sort of package into the deck because you're adding a little bit more bricky cards. So I don't think they're quite necessary, but you can definitely play it since you do have two Fenrir's in the deck already. As for other cards, we're not really playing EVV at the moment. EVV might be really good if Runics pick up. But even then, I think we had a pretty good matchup against Runics for the most part. So I'm not really so inclined to add EVV back in quite yet. Because it can be a double-edged sword, right? So if you draw this card, it's not that great. And sometimes when you activate it, you still won't win your games. It's definitely good against like the mirror match. Still pretty good against trap tricks, for sure. And it's one way for us to interact with back row since we don't really play any back row removal outside of maybe Fenrir and Labrynth. And maybe if we dump Entis with punishment. So those are some of my thoughts on some of the card selection for this particular season. As for the extra deck, I think since we're only playing 2 extravagance, you can definitely play a little bit more utility cards in the extra deck. I went ahead and decided to add in Underworld Goddess, though I don't really see myself summoning her out. She's probably gonna get banished. But she would help against something like Boros End Dragon. Boros End Dragon's kind of annoying to deal with, kind of hard to get rid of, or any card that you're just having difficulty getting rid of with your lineups. Then yeah, Underworld Goddess would kind of be like that emergency button, although I don't think she's quite necessary for the deck. Everything else, I think definitely Triple Angel you probably do need because I do banish this thing a lot. 1 or 2 copies every time I activate Extravagance, and you definitely want to have at least 1 copy in your extra deck so that you can summon out. So you can summon him whenever you need to. Same thing with Entis. I don't really like the Tri Brigade into the Garura because that takes up 2 extra deck space, and I almost never send the Tri Brigade monster to the graveyard anyways, or I activate Pot of Extravagance and like the Tri Brigade monster gets banished and Garura is still there. So it's always been sort of a mixed bag for me. So I decided to just not play that at all. The rest of extra deck, triple Mudcracker is probably optional. You could probably just play 2 and it'd be fine. And then I think Dark is still pretty decent. Phoenix is pretty good. Other cards you can play is Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Cerebus, or you can even play the DDD package, but that's also 2 monsters that kind of rely on each other. If you banish one, the other card becomes kind of useless. So I don't really particularly enjoy that as much, so I don't really play that particular package. That could be said the same with Zeus sometimes. If you banish your Babushka and your Dingisu, you might not be able to use Zeus, but who knows, right? Sometimes you can abuse the potential for Zeus. So anyways, I think that's it. We're gonna start grinding this season. I think I'm starting at Diamond 4 just because I reached Masters last season's. Let me check. Oh yeah, Diamond 5 right here. So yeah, new season, new deck. Well, not really new deck, but slightly different build to the deck. And I think Labrynth in general has a good matchup against Casteria. Has an okay matchup against D-Links because we do have some interaction. But overall, I think it's a solid deck. If you're going to try to climb the Master this particular season, I would definitely go with Labrynth over any other deck choice. Maybe Cash if you're a really, really good Cash player. But problem with the Cash is they don't have a Rise Heart, and I don't think the deck is that great without a Rise Heart, as I've played against many Cash decks, and not only do I have a good matchup, without a Rise Heart, they don't really do anything. You can easily deal with Unicorn, Fenrir's, Shangri-La, Mind Hacker, all that. That doesn't really matter too much to Labrynth as much. So, I mean, in general, Labrynth's good against Cash. I don't think Cash will be that great until a Rise Heart, so it's up to you. I mean, if you're preparing for Cash and you really like it, you could play it. I think some people are playing a mixture of Casteria plus Tyroments. That could potentially work. Mixing themes or mixing engines there. But overall, with my experience with Labrynth so far, I think it's a solid choice to go with this season, and I'm gonna go ahead and try that out. I'll see how the Call by the Graves works. Hopefully, it saves me a lot of games. Hopefully, it stops a lot of Ash Blossom. That's really it. Another card I guess you could potentially play is Gamma. I don't particularly like Gamma all that much in this particular deck, namely because when you use Gamma, then you're most likely not gonna be able to synchro into anything. So he's gonna get banished, whatever. So that's why we're just gonna go with more generic Call by the Graves. Anyways, that's it, guys. I'll upload some more video of me playing this season, showing my grind. I could probably make it to Masters. I don't think it's like that hard. I don't know how much I'll grind. I might wait, play on and off this season, simply just to reset my rank so I can get more stones and gems. Because right now I'm kind of limited to only the diamonds and master gems, which is kind of unfortunate. Yeah, and that's it. That's all I got for today. All right, peace out.